Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar News, your go-to channel for the latest accurate and carefully researched updates on the Iraqi dinar. Today's discussion touches on a moment that could shape the financial future of an entire country. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia Al-Sudani is now facing perhaps his final opportunity to fulfill a promise he made directly to the people of Iraq, a promise to raise the purchasing power of the IQD. As summer advances in 2025, Iraq finds itself at a decisive crossroads. What happens in the coming months could set the course for the dinar and for Iraq's economy for years to come. When Prime Minister Al-Sudani took office, he didn't mince words. He spoke plainly about improving the financial well-being of everyday Iraqis by increasing the value of their national currency. That wasn't just a campaign slogan. It was a commitment to give real power back to people's earnings, pensions, and savings. Now, with the clock ticking toward the next round of elections, that commitment is under increasing scrutiny. The people want answers, not promises, and pressure is rising from all directions. Al-Sudani's declarations weren't made behind closed doors. He spoke publicly, clearly and repeatedly about strengthening the Iraqi dinar and building an economy that would serve millions who have long felt neglected. In a country where political talk is often met with skepticism, many Iraqis were surprised by how candid and confident he sounded. It gave people hope that finally someone in power understood their daily struggles. But today, questions are louder than ever. Were those statements genuine? And more importantly, can they be fulfilled? The current state of the Iraqi dinar is relatively steady, but stability isn't the same as strength. The currency still lacks the buying power needed to help families cover their monthly expenses: food, fuel, medicine, school supplies. Everything continues to cost far more than many can afford. Imported goods remain pricey, and wages haven't kept up with the rising cost of living. As a result, many are beginning to question whether any real change is possible, while Iraq is still mired in political infighting and a slow-moving reform process. Despite growing frustration, there are indications that efforts are being made behind the scenes. Under al-Sudani's leadership, Iraq has built up its foreign currency reserves to levels not seen in more than 10 years. These reserves serve as the financial backbone that supports the dinar's global standing. Additionally, his administration has cracked down on corruption, long one of the country's most damaging problems. While these measures alone won't change everything, they suggest that groundwork is being laid for a larger shift in direction. One of Iraq's most stubborn economic challenges has been its reliance on black market currency trading. For decades, unregulated money exchanges have played a dominant role in the economy, leading to pricing instability and confusion. In response, the Central Bank of Iraq has started enforcing tougher regulations and tightening control over foreign currency exchanges. The goal is to push more citizens and businesses toward official banking channels. If this continues and expands, it could mark a real step forward in stabilizing the currency and establishing fairer, more transparent exchange rates. But monetary reform isn't just about regulations or balance sheets. It's also about rebuilding public confidence. The dinar is more than a unit of currency. It's a symbol of Iraq's national identity, resilience, and long fight to recover from conflict and isolation. When its value collapsed in the 1990s and early 2000s, the public didn't just lose financial stability, they lost trust in the system itself. For the dinar to rise again, that trust must be earned back, not through speeches, but through action. If the dinar does grow stronger, what would that mean in practice for ordinary Iraqis? Simply put, it would bring much-needed relief. It would stretch their salaries further, making food, fuel, rent, and medicine more affordable. It would allow parents to plan for their children's education, save money, and look toward the future with something they haven't had in a long time: security. That's why this issue is so deeply personal for so many. It's not just about money, it's about restoring dignity, giving people a sense of control over their lives again. Al-Sudani is aware of this. It's precisely why he made the commitment. But public sentiment is shifting. Promises, no matter how well-meaning, Don't pay rent or buy groceries. What matters now is action, and there isn't much time left. The international financial community is also keeping a close eye on Iraq's moves. Global investors recognize the country's resource potential and strategic location, but they remain hesitant, citing political instability, uneven reforms, and inconsistent policies. If Al-Sudani can maintain stability and show real progress, Iraq could attract billions in new investment. That kind of capital could help rebuild infrastructure, energize the economy, and naturally elevate the dinar's value. But without fast, visible outcomes, that interest may quickly fade. Investors are not driven by talk, they need proof, and the next few months will serve as a critical test of whether Iraq is ready to meet that expectation. Al-Sudani's government has taken some visible steps to improve everyday life in Iraq. Infrastructure projects are now underway, roads are being repaved, power systems are being upgraded, and clean water access is slowly expanding across cities and rural areas alike. These developments signal that something real is happening, not just on paper but in the daily experience of citizens. And while construction doesn't solve everything, it plays a symbolic role. It tells the people that progress is possible, but physical improvements must be matched with financial impact or the momentum will be lost. For many Iraqis, the strength of the dinar is what truly affects their day-to-day lives. Without it, even the best infrastructure can feel out of reach. The value of a currency isn't just determined in banks or by policy, it's felt in the markets, at the gas stations, and in every home struggling to make ends meet. That's why linking these public upgrades with real monetary reform is so vital. If salaries remain weak and prices keep rising, the sense of improvement will quickly disappear. One of the key political risks looming over this moment is the upcoming national election. The future of Iraq's financial trajectory may very well depend on who holds office after the votes are counted. If Al-Sudani fails to maintain support or loses the next election, there's no guarantee that any of these reforms will continue. This isn't simply about policy, it's about whether Iraq can remain committed to progress even through leadership transition. What's at stake is far more than political victory. It's a chance to show the public that meaningful change is not only possible, but sustainable. Many economists agree that a sudden, steep revaluation of the dinar could backfire. Quick spikes in value might spark inflation, destabilize markets, or overwhelm institutions that aren't yet prepared to manage a more valuable currency. This is why long-term planning and gradual implementation are essential. Iraq needs to steadily reduce its reliance on imports, boost local production, and educate the public on smart financial practices. Only then can the dinar gain true value, not just as a currency, but as a foundation for national prosperity. It's important to emphasize that this process isn't about overnight success. It's about designing an economic system that works for the average citizen, not just political elites, not just banks, and not just global investors. In many ways, the people of Iraq have been promised change for decades, but they've seen too many promises fade. That's why this moment carries such weight. Small victories matter now more than ever, because they rebuild faith, one step at a time. The mood on the ground reflects this tension. Many citizens still hold onto hope, believing that Al-Sudani might deliver where others have failed. But others are worn out, tired of waiting for outcomes that never arrive. Still, one key difference separates the current situation from past attempts. Actions are now visible. Anti-corruption efforts are underway. Currency market controls are being enforced. Infrastructure is being improved. These changes may be slow, but they are real. What remains uncertain is whether they're happening fast enough. Iraq is not just in need of forward motion, it's in need of momentum that translates into tangible results. The price of bread, the cost of fuel, the availability of medicine, these are the metrics that matter most to the average family. If reforms don't deliver visible outcomes soon, the frustration could boil over and the opportunity could vanish. Across markets in cities from Baghdad to Basra, conversations are shifting. People want to know, will the dinar grow stronger? Will life become more affordable? Can they fix their homes or send their children to better schools? These are not just economic questions, they are deeply human ones. And for once, they are being asked loudly and publicly. That in itself is a form of power. The people are watching. They are listening closely to every speech, every policy, every delay, and they are ready to respond if this moment slips away. In Iraq's long and often painful political history, few leaders have received as much attention and pressure as Prime Minister Al-Sudani is facing now. This is his defining test. The coming months will determine whether his legacy is one of transformation or of missed opportunity. That test will be measured not by headlines, but by household budgets. Not by speeches, but by savings accounts. Not by foreign analysts, but by Iraqi families wondering if next month will be any easier than the last. As Al-Sudani remains focused and pushes forward with integrity, the groundwork for a renewed dinar could finally be complete. But if momentum is lost, either through political infighting or delayed action, this chance could disappear for another generation. Leadership now requires not just vision, but courage. The next phase must be planned with precision, communicated with transparency, and executed with discipline. There's no longer time for hesitation. Every day that passes is another test of whether Iraq's leadership can meet this historic moment. The people have waited long enough. What they seek now is not reassurance, but real, measurable improvement. Every initiative, every reform, and every financial policy must now converge toward one goal: restoring confidence in the Iraqi dinar and improving the quality of life for the nation's citizens. This political and economic window may not stay open for long. Once elections arrive, the path forward becomes uncertain. If a new administration comes in, priorities could shift. Past promises may be discarded and critical reforms could be frozen. That's why Prime Minister Al-Sudani must act decisively now. This isn't just his moment, it's Iraq's. The choices made in the coming weeks could either solidify the progress made or allow it to unravel under new pressures. Interestingly, former President Trump recently made comments that, while not official policy, implied significant regional changes might be underway in the Middle East. Though his words weren't directly tied to Iraq, they have added to the broader sense that major geopolitical realignments are on the horizon. In such a climate, a strong and stable Iraqi dinar would not only empower local citizens, but could also establish Iraq as a center of financial stability in a volatile region. That potential isn't lost on the international community. Investors and foreign observers are watching intently. What they want to see is a continuation of reforms, clarity in currency policy, and long-term planning that aligns with global economic norms. If Iraq can prove it is serious about transparency and sustainability, it may unlock support from financial institutions worldwide, support that could reinforce the dinar's value and open the door to wider global trade and investment. But again, these outcomes will not materialize unless Iraq delivers results that the people can feel. It has to show, not just say, that the situation is changing. Salaries must stretch further. Essentials like food, fuel, rent, and medicine need to become manageable. And perhaps most importantly, the people need to regain the belief that their currency is more than just a symbol. It's a tool that can work in their favor. This is where smart policymaking comes in. A measured, step-by-step increase in the dinar's value, backed by improvements in local production, reductions in reliance on imports, and continued anti-corruption efforts, could achieve more than any sudden spike ever could. Stability, after all, is not just about numbers, it's about reliability, trust, and the ability to plan for the future. At the same time, it's encouraging to see a shift in public sentiment. While many remain cautious, a growing number of Iraqis are beginning to feel that something is different this time. They see new infrastructure rising, hear fewer excuses from officials, and sense that Iraq's leadership is at least trying to move forward. This cautious optimism is valuable. It can fuel civic engagement, increase public pressure, and ultimately keep leaders accountable. In marketplaces and community gatherings, discussions are happening that haven't taken place in years. People are wondering out loud about their currency, their government, and their country's trajectory. That kind of engagement signals a reawakening. The Iraqi people, long silenced by war, sanctions, and broken promises, are once again speaking up, and their voices carry weight. So where does this leave us? The future of the Iraqi dinar remains unwritten. Its fate hinges on decisions being made right now, decisions that will either carry Iraq forward or allow it to fall back into the familiar cycles of disappointment. Prime Minister Al-Sudani's last chance to make good on his word is unfolding day by day. If he rises to the occasion, this could be remembered as the moment Iraq turned a page. But if he falters, the burden of that failure will fall not just on his shoulders, but on the entire population. There's an old saying, often whispered in the streets of Baghdad: "Hope never dies, it only sleeps." Perhaps that's true. Perhaps despite everything, despite the hardship, the waiting, the slow grind of reform, Iraqis still believe. They believe that the dinar can rise again, that their wages can once again have meaning, that their children can inherit a better future than their parents had. But belief alone is not enough. It must be met with action. This is where the government must now prove its sincerity. Words must become laws, plans must become programs, and promises must become paychecks. That's the standard the people now expect and deserve. Al-Sudani made a commitment, and the time to honor it is now. To everyone tuning in from across Iraq and around the world, thank you for staying engaged, informed, and committed to understanding what's at stake. At Iraqi Dinar News, we'll continue to follow every development, every reform, and every sign of change. We're not here to sell false hope, we're here to tell the truth, however it unfolds. So, stay with us, watch the signs, and remember, patience, awareness, and unity will determine what comes next. Thank you for being part of today's crucial update. Please consider subscribing to Iraqi Dinar News and hitting the notification bell so you never miss a report. Your support helps us reach more people with honest coverage. Until next time, stay strong, stay aware, and keep believing in a better future for Iraq. The road ahead may be uncertain, but together we move forward.